Hi, Bill. It's Dr. Carbonell.
Thank you for giving me a call today, Dr. Carbonell. I understand you are the director of anxiety treatment centers located in Chicago and Arlington Heights. How long have you been practicing in anxiety disorders?
Just about 1990.
Nine?
Quite some time.
Oh, okay. You've been into it for a lot of years, so you've.
Long time, yes.
What got you started in it?
Well, it was just really chance events when you go to graduate school in psychology, you go on to an internship, and I did my internship out at Heinz VA, and they try and, give you clients of all kinds, depression, substance abuse, anxiety, and right from the get-go, it seemed like I just took much more naturally to helping people with anxiety. I could intuit it faster. I got better results, and when I came to see that there were literally millions of people out there still looking for help and not finding much. There was really nothing in the 80s and 90s. I decided to specialize pretty quickly.
Wow, you made a wise choice because I know it just seems to be increasing with anxiety disorders for people around the world. Is there?
Yes, for 3 decades it's been the number one category in terms of different diagnostic categories in terms of frequency of people seeking help. So it's by far the biggest problem.
What causes it? Well, I know there's generalized anxiety disorder. I read your book, great book, and there's specific phobias, panic disorder, agoraphobia. What's the difference? It's all the same type of feeling, isn't it?
Well, the feelings are similar. Some of the particular symptoms will vary. Generalized anxiety disorder, it's much more focused on symptoms of thoughts, where a person is bombarded with lots of what-if thoughts, what if this, what if that, constantly having thoughts about unlikely, terrible events, and they find it hard. Just like if you get a song stuck in your head and you can't get the song out of your head, these people have trouble getting those what-if thoughts out of their head.
Is that more the anticipatory anxiety compared to panic disorders?
Yes, it is, because the sort of stuff that people anticipate with generalized anxiety disorder, it rarely ever happens. What they struggle with is all the what-if anticipatory thoughts. They try and prove something can't happen. You can't prove a negative, and so they get more anxious.
Okay. And panic disorder, can you have anticipatory disorder with panic disorder?
Yes, you can, but your anticipation is much more specific. With generalized anxiety disorder, as the name implies, people can worry about a wide variety of topics. What if I get sick? What if my furnace breaks down in the middle of the winter? What if my child fails out of school? What if my spouse leaves me? What if I lose my job? And on and on and on. With panic disorder, the anticipation is much more about what if I have a panic attack in that situation, say while I'm driving on the highway or while I'm sitting in the middle row of a crowded theater, or while the minister is giving his sermon at church. What if I have a panic attack in a situation where it's going to be hard for me to leave?
And panic attacks is something that people generally just bolt. They just flee from it, don't they? If they're in let's say if they're in church and they're having this disorder, they will just get up and leave.
Well, they'll really want to leave. Now, in the early stages, they're more likely to flee. As they come to understand it a little better and begin to work with it, then hopefully they can stay in place and respond more to the symptoms. But a strong, powerful urge to leave is one of the primary symptoms of it.
Okay. And what causes the panic attack?
Well, we don't really have a good short answer to that. Some people are more likely, by virtue of their genetic heritage, to develop panic attacks than are other people. It runs more strongly in families. The onset of panic attacks, it usually comes on somewhere between the late teens and the early 30s, seemingly in response to lots of big changes in life as you move up to the front ranks of being an independent adult. So it doesn't have to be bad events. It might all be what we would think of as good things: graduating college, getting your first job, getting married, getting your home, having a child. But the person gets a little overwhelmed by all the demands of moving from, being a more dependent person to now standing on my own.
Why do people become afraid of the panic attack? Is it because when it happens the first time they just don't know what it is?
That's part of it. They don't know what it is, and it feels powerful. It's not subtle. Their heart will race in ways that make them think they're about to have a heart attack, and their chest will hurt, and they'll have trouble catching their breath. They may break into a sweat or become cold and clammy. They'll feel lightheaded and dizzy. It's powerful, powerful sensations occurring seemingly without a cause. And of course we want to know, well, why am I so afraid? And this leads them to making literally the guess, well, I don't see anything dangerous out here in the theater, on the road, in the meeting. It must be that something dangerous is happening inside of me.
And this can lead to agoraphobia, which pretty much bounds a person to their home then, where they're afraid to go out any place.
Well, that's really bad agoraphobia. What we really mean more generally by agoraphobia is a person begins to avoid a lot of otherwise ordinary activities and situations, things that they used to do without thinking twice about it. And now they begin to avoid. Maybe they stay off the highway because they're afraid of the fact that, they'll see a sign that says next exit 5 miles, and that sounds like an eternity to them.
Yeah, I read that in your book too about divided highways, and I thought you must mean like expressways because you can't always get off where you want or turn around.
Exactly. That part of the theme of panic disorder is people always want to know that I can leave as quickly and quietly and invisibly as I may wish in case I have a panic attack, and so they begin to avoid anything that doesn't seem to offer them that prospect.
To going back again to anticipatory anxiety, which is different, which you mentioned about thinking about this, worried about that, but can it be you can have anticipatory anxiety because you're worrying about going out or getting onto the expressway? Would that then be considered anticipatory anxiety with the fear of having a panic attack?
Yes, absolutely. You can have anticipatory anxiety as part of all the different anxiety disorders. It's just that what the person anticipates will be different. And with panic disorder, their anticipatory anxiety always leads to the thought about, what if I have a panic attack?
Okay. And then why is panic a trick?
Because it comes over you, and it seems to represent some terrible danger that people having a panic attack feel as though they're about to die, maybe of a heart attack or a stroke, some kind of physical calamity, or they're about to faint and maybe not wake up, or perhaps they're going to go insane and start screaming and running around and knocking people over in their effort to leave the shopping mall. And what happens is the panic consists of terrible discomfort, but no danger, and so they're getting tricked into interpreting this discomfort that they feel as a sign of danger, and that leads them to try and fight it and run away from it, which just makes things worse. That's the trick. Is it danger or is it discomfort?
Okay, and so that's the flight and fight syndrome, and I think you also mentioned freeze. So there's 3 things you have an option to do, going back to when we were cave people, beginning as human life. It seems you have 3 choices to do. But if you stay within the panic, doesn't the panic overwhelm you? Can it do you harm? Can it cause you to go insane?
No, it'll overwhelm you emotionally, perhaps, where a person will become so afraid that they feel they have to leave. But you can interview as many people as is possible about all the panic attacks they've ever had, and then this is part of what I do. What's the worst thing a panic attack has ever done to you? it scares people. It motivates them to flee and to protect themselves and to worry. But panic attacks don't kill. They don't make people crazy. They don't make people faint. They don't really do any of the terrible things that the person believes at the moment. That's the trick that I'm referring to.
Okay. So
like a bluff.
Okay. So the mind is tricking itself. Why does the mind? It's like sabotaging the body. Then I don't understand that part. Since I know I asked you what causes it, and there's really nothing to say what specifically causes it. But when it happens and the mind is then being tricked into believing the physical symptoms as danger, it's a repetitive cycle then. It just keeps repeating itself. Why does the body and the mind want to work together like that?
Well, out of an excess of caution, sort of with the idea in evolutionary terms of, well, it can't hurt. Somebody in the village is going to be the first one to flee when the river rises 6 inches. Maybe that's premature, but because we have a few of those people, the tribe survives when there's a flood. So we all have variations of how sensitive or insensitive we are to anxiety, and people who experience panic disorder are in the very high end of the sensitivity.
This is imagination then, creating it. Is that right? What I'm reading?
Well, the sensations are real. The heart is doing something different. The person is sweating. They are feeling lightheaded. The symptoms are real. The danger is not real.
And why can't the mind realize there is nothing here danger? What is it becoming afraid of? It's becoming afraid of the feelings because there's nothing there to be afraid of. But you're getting these...
Well, there isn't, but easy to say when you're outside of it. You might look at the scary movie industry and see something very similar. We can certainly all agree, gee, if I go to see a scary movie, the only danger I confront there is high cholesterol from the popcorn. However, that's of no use if you're watching a movie that really scares you and you try and tell yourself maybe, well, it's only a movie, or you try and look away for a few moments or cover your ears. That really doesn't take away the fear. And even though everybody in that theater is aware, this is a made-up story, it's just film, somebody wrote this story and actors rehearsed these lines and so on and so forth, still they're going to be afraid, and some of them will be afraid enough to flee the theater, even though they know it's only a movie.
Hey, you're right.
Different parts of the mind that work here.
Oh, that's interesting, because you're exactly right. The good thing, though, is once you leave the movie, or the movie's over, maybe you'll have some or nightmare from it or something like that. Pretty much, it's gone. But with this panic disorder, it's just hanging on. How do people get rid of this?
Well, the same way you might get over, if there was a movie that really terrified you and you had some really good reason, I don't know what it would be, but you had a good reason for wanting to be able to see that movie and not feel afraid. Think about how you might go about doing that. What would you do?
If I was in the movie, I would think if I was watching the movie, I would keep reminding myself as I was feeling the fear that this is not real. This is an actor. This is a movie. This is created. This is Hollywood. This is FX, special effects.
Sure. That's what you might do to help you stay in the movie for that one show. But if you really wanted to arrive at a point in your life where if somebody said, oh, come, let's watch The Exorcist or this or that, it used to scare you and now it makes you drowsy, how would you get to that point?
Oh, okay. So you're going over and over watching this movie, and and the mind
watch it again and again and again.
And this is what is so you're exposing yourself to something that scares you. You do it constantly, and eventually it just stops scaring you. Is that?
Yes. You literally go and practice with the panic.
How do you get somebody to go do something when they don't want to do it because they know it's going to be scary to them?
Well, it isn't as simple and plain as they don't want to do it because, they're coming to me for help in doing it. People come to me because they realize my gosh, I've given up driving on the highways. I can't, I don't nearly have the freedom I used to. I can't go see my son play in the high school orchestra because I'm so afraid of being in a crowd, or I have a wonderful job opportunity, but they want me to fly once a month, and I'm terrified of flying. So people come to me with these situations in which I'm afraid to do that, and yet I have some reasons for wanting to be able to get to it. That there's an advantage to me if I can overcome this fear. So that's the starting point.
Okay, so the motivation to get better has to be a little bit stronger than the fear itself?
Well, so far it hasn't been, but they wish that they could do it, and they're looking for, help me figure out a plan, help me figure out an approach by which I can gradually reduce this fear. So if somebody's looking to be able to overcome it enough that they come to see me, then I'm going to help them break it into smaller steps, get, regular practice with small and increasing steps. I'm going to show them some things along the way, how to breathe in such a way that you can quickly see, I'm not going to asphyxiate at all, and in fact that breathing slows my heart rate down. I'm going to show them how to respond to the symptoms in ways that calm them down rather than build them up.
Okay, so what's the success rate? Is this something that can be overcome by everybody?
I would say, nothing is 100%, but this is very, very treatable. I think, certainly upwards of 80 to 90% of people can make a good recovery and certainly learn how to go and do the things they want to do. They won't be anxiety-free because none of us are.
Yes.
But, this is an overblown, overpowered version of ordinary anxiety, and we can get anxiety back down to its ordinary perspective for most people.
So this is very successfully cured then with the proper treatment.
This is one of the anxiety disorders as a group, and amongst them panic disorder individually. These are among the most treatable of problems that a psychologist is likely to see coming to his office.
Okay. What about medication? There's a lot of medication out there too. Is that something that certain people need and where they just can't get the help from like yourself?
Well, I think that's a good point. Do they need that medication if good exposure-based treatment is available? In most cases, I would say no.
Oh, that's very
but
good.
In many parts of the country, they particularly more rural areas, they unfortunately just can't find that kind of treatment. But my preference in working with people, they come, they have medication, they don't have medication. I'm going to work with them where they are and what their preferences are. But I'm very happy that's my preference. If people come and aren't on medication, to me the work is easier.
Because I read somewhere too that with the medication, the treatment, the awareness of what's going on isn't as effective because the medication is holding them back from experiencing the exposure practice. Is that correct?
That's correct. And in fact, somebody on medication, if we're going to do the exposure, if they've been medicated to the point where they don't have any panic symptoms anymore, then they need to drop the medication a little bit as we progress because they need the practice.
Okay, so
with the symptoms, if they feel completely protected by the medication, that's actually going to maintain their anxiety going forward, because what if my bodyguard calls in sick one day?
do you provide home visits?
I do. I don't do a lot of that, but throughout my career, there's always been times when somebody who was completely housebound, and if it fit into my regular traffic plan to work or this or that, then I would do home visits. Typically, planning to do them real briefly, just enough to help the person start to get outside of the house.
And then they make their way to your office, where that would be a success right there.
That's a big load. Just if you're housebound, getting out of the house and walking out of the block, maybe even going out to your front porch, for some people is a good step, and it's always breaking it into those small steps so as to feel less overwhelmed.
What time period does it take for somebody to overcome this? Is there any specific? Is it like a year, 2 years to retrain the mind, or it can be like a week? Is there anything?
Well, it's somewhere in between. I probably see the great majority of the people I work with panic disorder somewhere between 10 and 20 sessions, which initially we meet once a week, and then as people start to make some progress, then we spread them out a little more. So it's, we're not talking about years of therapy. We're talking months.
Oh, wow, that's
Now,
very...
somebody who's completely housebound and has maybe built a whole lifestyle of being housebound, that maybe they have work that they do from home, and if, they might have built their whole lifestyle around being housebound, and then we got longer work to do.
Okay, but even then, it's not...
a client who is, I can't drive on the highway, I can't take an airplane, I avoid grocery stores, go to little mom and pop stores, have multiple avoidances. I still get outside of my house and function, but with great limits. Then it's those kind of people I'm thinking of, the 10 to 20 sessions.
Oh, okay, so if somebody was housebound, then it's still not that much longer, is it? I mean, once you start to get the idea of what's happening, and it's trust that you're building from not fearing the panic. Is that what happens? You don't fear the panic?
That's right. You lose your fear of the fear. Panic disorder is all about a fear of fear. And you lose your fear of fear as a result of having panic attacks and seeing, gee, I got some steps I can take. I know how to walk through it. I know how to treat this just like a scary ride. And so now I may still have the fear sometimes, but I don't fear the fear in the same way.
And that lessens the anxiety to the whole thing then too, doesn't it?
Yes, because the anticipation shifts from, what if I have a panic attack? It seems like that would be the end of my productive life, to, oh, what if I have a panic attack? What a nuisance, but I'll take care of it.
Okay. You certainly are the anxiety coach. Your website, anxietycoach.com, certainly matches. And I got to compliment you on that, because I've done my research and I see there's so many people out there who have a magic pill, who have a magic cure. It's either vitamins or you do this one step and you're done. And reading your research, and I referred back to Dr. Claire Weeks too, and I know, and she seems like to be a pioneer pretty much, and your steps go along with hers too. So yours is very valid information that's out there on the website for people who want to get help. And also, you give it out. It's free at anxietycoach.com. And I read your book, the Panic Attacks Workbook, a guided program for beating the panic trick, and it's specifically the same as what's on the website. So that's amazing. You're not out there trying to exploit people with panic disorders. And I know there's a lot of people who certainly can appreciate that after trying so many different things, because what popped up, got me interested in this too, was a guy would pop up with a YouTube video, and he was just over and over about how he needs more vitamins and things like that. And you could see he's suffering with this panic disorder, and I'm thinking, no, that's not going to do it from what I've been reading about. So
no, if it sounds too good to be true, well, then it's undoubtedly not true.
Yeah.
This is a solvable, treatable problem. There's work involved. You have to, be willing to, a step at a time, practice with the panic and feel it and see how to let it go. And if somebody's promising a painless, quick cure, take these vitamins, or I have 3 magic steps that I won't tell you what they are until you buy my materials, then it's undoubtedly not true. It's unfortunately the case that there's an awful lot of hucksters out there on the internet.
Yeah, and that's a shame. But and as I say, you're the first website that I've come across that actually offers advice for free, and they can get a hold of you through anxietycoach.com. And you've been very helpful with me getting the book that I wanted to read about the Panic Attacks Workbook, a guided program for beating the panic attack trick, and I appreciate that. Dr. Carbonell, I wish you the best in continuing to treat people who have this disorder, because it can be very devastating in their life, as I've read about.
It's terribly limiting. When somebody has that first panic attack, they'll say, it's like my life has entered into a whole different phase. I can hardly recognize myself from who I was before, and yet it is solvable. They can get their life back, and it's gratifying to see that.
And
So I appreciate your taking the time to have me on today. This is a good way to get the word out.
yes, I'm going to post that up, and hopefully we'll get some relief for a lot of people out there suffering, and knowing that they don't have to live like that for the rest of their lives. It is 100%, sounds like 100%. I know nothing is 100% guaranteed, but it sounds like if you do the work that you prescribe, you will learn to live your life more as it should be than living it in fear.
That's exactly right. If you can find a way to do the work and get some help with it and see the steps, this is a very solvable problem.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Carbonell, and enjoy your day.
Okay, thanks much. You take care.
You too. Bye-bye.